Hello folks, how's things? Very, very rainy and wet day in Northern Ireland today, but it turns out that's actually perfect for what I need to do. I mentioned before, I'm writing up my PhD, so I feel it really helps to get out in the mornings and do a bit of physical activity and just do things that I actually really like to do. It helps with the productivity in the writing process, and it settles me a wee bit. So I have a long list of things I need to do in terms of conservation work locally and my rivers and spots and various things like that. So this is one of the jobs. Yeah, so it's absolutely ideal planting conditions, and it's something I need to do really before spring. The best time to plant trees is now, so we're in mid-February at the moment, and this sort of side project has been actually put back quite a wee bit because of the pandemic, obviously. That's the main thing. And also the last couple of weeks the ground's been pretty frozen, and also time as well. I haven't really had a lot of time to do the work. So today I'm going to make a short video and talk about where I'm going to plant and how I'm going to do it, and also why I'm doing it really. So we'll just get to it now. Okay, so these are some of the trees. As you can see, got some rowans, pedunculate oak, some hazel there, blackthorn, hawthorn, and what's the other one? Silver birch. So it's a good mix of native woodland there to go out. So that's what I'll be planting today. But I'll probably start with the hawthorn, as I'll explain on site why. Believe it or not, one of my favourite conservation tools is actually a plaster mixing bucket. So much so that I bought another one of them recently. But really they're ideal for carrying all your gear, and that could be, chainsaw gear, hand tools, whatever materials, even your lunch. They're absolutely fantastic. So they'll definitely come into their own when I'm doing some tree planting, because I have to carry the small packs of the trees, and also bamboo canes and plastic tree guards and things like that. So I'm going to fill these up, and then we'll get going to the site. Okay, so we're on site here at the local conservation park, and as you can see, the site has already been prepared for us. It's going to take some more work, like on top of the plant, to come and do a wee bit of litter lifting, because as you can see, it's beside an urban area, beside a fairly main road, so it's always busy, and unfortunately with that you get a huge amount of litter. So the history of this site is that this one that we're going to plant in particular is in the conservation park. The local council has developed a new walking path, a new loop, and this was, I believe, the area where the contractors were, where they stored their equipment and stuff. So it's given us an opportunity to plant up, and we kindly got around 400 trees from the Woodland Trust, as you have already seen. So we're going to start planting up here in a moment or two, but here along that ridge is where we're going to put a hedge in, because you can see, well, you can just about see there's a hedge either side. So that's what we're going to do with this, and then the rest is just going to be planted up with the other native broadleaf species. So there's quite a few oaks and things, and the thing about planting oak is you never get to appreciate your work, because the species takes that long to grow. You're really doing it for future generations, but again, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you've done it. So that's a major positive there. So you can see this is the view out over the rest of the conservation park, and just down there where the fence is, that's the new path. So yeah, it's quite a big area to plant up, but I have got more than enough trees to cover it, so we'll get to it. regarding my Woodland project, I can't remember if I mentioned it on site or not, but it's working with the local council, and that's who owns the land. And I know I mentioned earlier that I got the trees delivered by the Woodland Trust, or from the Woodland Trust, and I think one of their main tree nurseries was in Scotland. So I saw on the news a couple of days ago that the Woodland Trust had 22,000 trees to come into Northern Ireland for other community groups and other individuals looking to plant up. However, due to the new Brexit regulations, or rather lack of it, what they call the NI protocol, these trees are no longer permitted to be delivered into NI, and it's something to do with them being attached and grown in British soil. British soil isn't allowed in Northern Ireland under the protocol rules, so that means there's going to be an absolutely enormous setback for conservation and greater tree planting, which is obviously going to be problematic, because there were quite a few really good solid plans going forward to increase the woodland cover here in Northern Ireland, and certainly I know of a few projects now that it remains to be seen what's going to happen really. So I'm just really thankful that my trees were delivered last year before this protocol thing was introduced. It was before Christmas that I got mine, and very, very fortunate indeed. But I really don't know how things are going to go going forward in terms of the movement of trees and stuff. And obviously, that's just the tip of the iceberg of the issue. I'm looking at it from a conservation point of view, but what's going to happen to all the businesses, the horticulture businesses, landscaping businesses, things like that, even the movement of things like potatoes, because often you get potatoes coming in covered in soil, and any other root vegetable really. So it's a really uncertain time, in terms of things like that, new regulation, and then obviously the impacts of the pandemic. So I don't really know what the solution is, but as I say, really thankful that we got our trees, so I'll go ahead with planting the small woodland. But a bit more on the project really. As you know, I've already talked about the tree species involved, and the things I'll be planting up, but hopefully these increase the habitat value of the area. The main site, the main conservation park, is actually part of an old forest plantation that was part of an estate, but it's all like large trees and things like that don't really have much conservation value. Saying that though, there is a site there where there's ravens nesting, and while ravens probably wouldn't be considered a rare bird, they certainly are like less frequently spotted locally, so it's important to safeguard things like that. But yeah, as I say, large trees, like a pine sort of needle type tree with needles, and they don't really support a lot of wildlife really. So going forward, the addition of a good bit of broadleaf planting and stuff like that, native species, should really improve things. In amongst them there's rowan and things like that, hawthorn and blackthorn. So obviously these are all fruit bearing trees, so hopefully these will improve the food for the bird life going forward, which is really important. I'm really happy with the mix of trees that we've got. Saying that though, there were some amongst them, mostly rowan actually, who, like, when I received them, they weren't very, very tall. Like, these things are only a couple of inches in height. So I know that if I plant those out, they're going to get completely swamped, and that's, tree guard or not really, they're not really going to get a flying start. So what I have done is I have siphoned off quite a few of the smaller trees, and I have planted them in these makeshift plant pots really. These are yogurt pots, so just drilled some holes in the bottom of them and planted them out in those. So I'll hold on to those for a year or so, and then or maybe a year or two, until they're big enough to go out and be planted out, without me worrying that they're going to be completely swamped by other vegetation and grass and stuff. So I want to give these trees a really good, the best start that I can give them, obviously, because they're going to be a rare commodity, and as I've said there about the problems around the Brexit implementation and stuff, who knows when we'll get trees delivered here next. So the ones that I do have, I want to look after. But you know, here around my house and in the yard and garden and stuff, I actually have been potting up a lot of trees. And you know, when I'm out, this sounds ridiculous, but there's some places where I see tree saplings growing in places where I know they're not going to do well. You know, you can just tell that they're going to get either sprayed off by the local council or something, and these could be like out of paving or something like that. So I just pull them up and rescue them, and then bring them home and grow them on, and plant them out, you know, in places that I think really need them. Because I mentioned before, but I work on two fairly well established river conservation projects, and obviously one of the main tenets of river conservation is the planting of trees and repairing vegetation. So I think this is really important to do. So that's why I just try and make the effort to get as many trees together as possible. But you know, obviously with what I've just talked about there, I think that's probably the best bet at the moment, is just try and source my own trees and grow them all myself as best as I can. I tried collecting seeds before, years ago, when I was quite young, and growing on trees from seeds, but that didn't really work out. But this year coming, it looks like I'm going to have to gather more seeds and actually give it a proper try, unless there's some radical change in the current protocol. So these are the trees that are still left to go out, plenty of them as you can see, and I didn't really put much of a dent in them, but that's okay, because I planted out all the hawthorns, and that was my main priority, to get the hedge in as soon as possible, because that'll be the thing that protects the site the most, especially from the noise and disruption coming from the main road, as you saw when I was out on site. So I'm happy enough. I think it took me about an hour or so to plant 3 of those bundles, and I think there must be about 20 trees in each, so I did okay. So I'll just plant these out at my leisure. As you can see, some of them are starting to just come out of dormancy. I wouldn't even say bud, but I'll not be long getting rid of these, and I have some volunteers willing to help as well. I think the most developed ones are these hazels. These will probably be the first to bud properly and show sign of leaf, but they don't really take long in getting started whenever the weather heats up a wee bit. But looking at today, it feels like it's as far away as ever. So as you can see, lots of work to be getting on with, and a long list of things to do on other sites as well. But I hope to make some more videos of the stuff that I've been doing, and that I will do in the future. I hope everybody enjoys watching them as much as I enjoy making them. And check back soon for another couple of videos on the Woodland update, because as you've just seen, there's a hell of a lot more planting to do. So hopefully I'll get some more of that done in the near future. Thanks for watching.